Hi and welcome to Sports Spotlight, where we look back at the weekend's football action. I'm joined by IBTimes sports editor Nick Howson. Nick, we'll start off with the FA Cup semi-final between Aston Villa and Liverpool. Villa upset the odds and won 2-1 in the match to progress to the final. What a turnaround this is for Villa this year since Sherwood took over, and where does this leave Liverpool?
Let's start with Tim Sherwood. He's done a terrific job in sort of only 2 months at Aston Villa. Okay, they're not safe yet from relegation, but in a far better position than they once were. And you'd think with the games they've got left against one or two of their rivals at the bottom that they'll survive. And he's now got them playing a type of football. When he came in, they'd only scored 14 league goals. It's a complete about turn. They're now an entertaining team that can score goals and obviously now win matches. And they'll really pose a threat when it comes to that May final. As for Liverpool, it was kind of just another big game that they failed to win. Their inability to win big games is defining Rodgers' spell in charge. His activity in the transfer market needs to be scrutinised further, I feel. Some very inadequate signings of the last couple of seasons. Really only 1 or 2 players that have come in have been really of any quality. People will probably forgive them not finishing in the top 4 this year because it's so competitive, and I think the top 4 are quite strong. But going forward, lots of questions to be asked.
We'll move on now to the other FA Cup semi-final, which saw Arsenal progress to the final after beating Reading 2-1 after extra time. Despite dominating possession, it was quite a shaky performance though by Arsenal, and did goalkeeper Federici's blunder get them out of jail somewhat?
Yeah, very much so. I'll try and avoid the cliches about Reading's performance. I think we know that they were fantastic, caused Arsenal an awful lot of problems. It's quite a brittle Arsenal back four, so it was in some ways no surprise that the likes of Jamie Mackie and even Proverniak's movement at times really gave them an awful lot of problems. It wasn't Francis Coquelin's best game. That's the way you get at Arsenal. You just play fire with fire, and you have to gamble on the fact that 1 or 2 of their better players have off days, and they did. Mesut Ozil was given the freedom of Wembley at times, but wasn't quite at his best. I think even Alexis Sanchez didn't have his best game, even though with the 2 goals. Obviously, they go into the final as favourites now, which I think plays perfectly into the hands of Aston Villa. The top 4 is basically secure. Villa have got more to play for, so Arsenal can rest a few. But it should be a fascinating final between 2 teams with different objectives between now and the end of the season. And on the day, genuinely, toss a coin, I think.
Finally, we move on to the Premier League, which seems all done and dusted now. Chelsea moved 10 points clear after beating Manchester United 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. But what was quite interesting was the comments that came out afterwards. You had Jose Mourinho saying that Chelsea had all the key Manchester United players in their pockets throughout the match and there was no danger. And yet Van Gaal said that the performance by Man United was the best match of the season. So what do you make of that?
It was all about laying down a marker for next season. I think a lot of people would say Arsenal supporters and Arsene Wenger might have something else to say about it, but I think a lot of people feel that these are the 2 that will contest next season's title. So from that point of view, they didn't want to give too much away to their opposition. That was quite clear from the comments that we saw. Jose Mourinho doesn't want to concede that Manchester United have improved to a point that he couldn't potentially control. And I think Louis van Gaal doesn't want to concede the fact that eventually, he's lost the game to a bitter rival when they weren't playing their best. So I don't think we should read too much into what they've said. Chelsea very dogged, they're sort of edging their way towards the title. Far cry from what they were in the first half of the season when they were very enterprising, very entertaining team. Now they're just sort of a bit dogged, trying to get through really. And then obviously inevitably they will claim the title at some point, whether it be in the next 10 days or so, or whether they take a couple more weeks.
Well, for all our sports coverage, go to our website, ibtimes.co.uk.